to talk about how we can use those item banks in a quiz. All right, so I'm back in our test quiz. You can see here's the question that I made earlier. So if I want to use an item bank in here, so what do item banks do? So item banks allow you to have a large, maybe not large, a number of items that you want the computer to randomly choose from. And you have different, different options with that. You can also use them just to organize questions. So let me show you what I mean. If I want to go in here and I want to add an item bank or even just a question from an item bank, I do that by clicking on this little blue circle. So when I click on that, you'll see I can add any question that I want. But if I want to add an item bank or an item from an item bank, I'm going to click on the little piggy bank. And I'm going to get this screen. You've seen this before. And here are my item banks. So when I choose one of these, I have all the questions are going to pop up. So I can go down here and choose one that's got more questions. So let's see. So this one has 10 questions in it. All right. And these are all multiple choice questions. And then I have an option. So I can choose, like if I want every single person to have this question right here, I can click it and it's going to pop up over here in the quiz. All right. If I want the computer to choose one of these questions, so student A is going to get a different one than student B, I'm going to click this button up here where it says plus all random. And when I do that, you will now see, and I'm just going to close this, you will now see that over here it says all questions pulled from, and then it gives me the name of the bank. And then it says 1 point per question. So I'm going to click right here, and then I get some options. So I can use all the questions, or this is the one I love. I say randomly select questions. Then I can choose how many of those questions I want. So there were 10 in this bank. I'm going to say I want you to choose 2, and it's going to be 1 point per question. So this is why I encourage you to keep types of questions or at least point value questions together. If you're going to use item banks in this way, you want to make sure they're all worth the same amount. There's no way in a quiz to pull things from an item bank and say, I want these to be worth 2 and these to be worth 1. It's only you have to do it this way. So the reason that I keep common types of questions together is because I want everybody to get 2 multiple choice questions. But if I want everybody to get 1 map question, I can go back in and then I can find my map. I'm going to hit that all random button. And I'll scroll down. I now have the second item bank option down here. So if I click on that, now I can say randomly select questions. I want 1, and maybe I want this one to be worth 5 points. So now I've got 2 questions pulled. So everybody's going to get 2 multiple choice questions worth 1 point. Everybody's going to get 1 map question that's worth 5 points. So this way, by keeping different types of questions together, I can really customize my assessment in a much more detailed way. One thing I want to point out, so when we were creating questions in our item banks, and we talked about how you can create a question in the quiz and then add it to an item bank, which you can, which we did, all right? But if I go and then use that item bank in this quiz, so if I click on here and I use that demo, if I hit all random and then say, I want you to choose, 1 of those, there is a likelihood, if I have it set up like this, if I created this in the quiz and then I use the bank that I added it to, kids might end up with a duplicate. Not a big deal, but something you might have to deal with. So if that's something you run into, you can always just delete that first question. It'll stay in the bank. So you should be able to now create a quiz with item banks, right? So if I go up here, let's just hit preview and see. So in this preview, it says, how can you navigate, right? Let's look at my map. It says CBA. So let's exit preview and let's see if I do it again. If I get different questions. So I definitely got a different map this time. So I'm getting the same types of questions, just the question that I get is going to be different. That's the beauty of item banks. So it can be used for a way to have your results more valid, because not every kid is getting the same exam, but they're all getting the same types of questions. It can also be a way to leverage retakes. So you could have students who take the quiz, then maybe do corrections. Then if they retake the quiz, which you can, by clicking on moderate, you can go up here. And so if Sarah wanted to take it again, I could just hit moderate and give her an additional attempt. But the questions she gets are going to be different. So it isn't just giving her the same thing over and over again. So she can get different questions that second time. So item banks are useful in lots of different ways and for different reasons. Another thing you can do if you're thinking about validity is in settings, you can hit shuffle questions. So not only are students getting different questions from the item banks, but then you're going to mix up the questions that they get. So it's just another layer of adding some of that validity to your assessment. So I hope that you can now find your item banks, that you can create and add to them, and that you can use them within an assessment. So I hope this has been helpful for you. Feel free to reach out if you have questions about them. And I really hope you dig into item banks and use them in lots of different ways.